Hi, welcome to my blog. My name is Tom Shue, and today we're going to do an advanced skin retouching video, and we're going to be working with Photoshop and Lightroom and handing them back the files back and forth, and we're going to do a completely non-destructive workflow. So let's get started. First, we have our model here. Her name's Heather. We did a senior portrait shoot, and I've been under the weather for the last couple days, so I haven't been able to finish this job, but I'm going to start my editing now and show you guys how I do it. So what we'll do is we're going to open this up as a smart object inside of Photoshop, and I'll show you why you want to do that. So if you right click and edit in, open as a smart object. So it'll hand the file over to Photoshop. In this, you can tell it's a smart object because it has this little icon. And this is a great benefit to you because you can do global adjustments to exposure and everything just like you did in Lightroom. However, you do it in Camera Raw versus going in here trying to make adjustments. You know, if you duplicate the layer and I want to adjust the hue and saturation or exposure or anything like that, those are individual adjustments, but I want to do it globally all at once. All I have to do is come over to my layer and double click, and it's going to launch Camera Raw. Now I've got full control, so we can set a black point by holding down the Alt key, and we set our black point, and now we can look at our white point and say, okay, well, that's good enough. Even though it's clipped there, that's okay. And let's look at our highlights and shadows. Okay, we're pretty good there. See if we want to adjust our clarity. Maybe we put it at +4 or something. And our vibrance looks pretty good. Now for our look at the exposure always as a brightness control. Use your black and whites to set a point, and then just use this as if it's too dark or too bright. Use this for your adjustment for that. Also, she looks a little bit warm, so I'm going to grab my white balance and I'm going to bring it down just a hair. That's too much, you see. She looks too cool, and right about there looks good. So we'll click OK, and we'll hand this file back into Photoshop, and if we ever want to revisit that, we can just double click it and go back in. So let's start with skin retouching. Let's zoom in here, and you can see that she needs some help with her skin a little bit. She's a beautiful young lady, but however, we're going to do some skin retouching. So non-destructively, we're going to create a new layer. First of all, we're going to get our paint chips, our color chips back to default. We're going to hit the D key, so we have black and white, so we're working with the start, and we're going to make a new layer. To make a new layer, it's Control-Shift-N or Command-Shift-N on a Mac, and then it allows you to name the layer. So that means that if you close this file and reopen it, you don't know if you've got a bunch of layers, what does what, if it's just named layer. So this way you can remember where you did your work. So we'll call this Skin Retouch. And this will notice where we do our blemish removal. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go in here and we'll grab our healing brush, and it'll be defaulted to the content aware, but you want to choose proximity match. Also, I want to adjust my brush real quick. Actually, I'll do that in a little while. Well, first we're going to come in here, and on this layer you want to make sure you have sample all layers. Click, because if you do that without it, it's not going to do anything because this layer is empty. However, if you select this checkbox, it'll select all the layers underneath and it'll let you apply your skin retouch to just that layer. So when I hide that layer, you can see that it's all lives on this one layer, so I didn't do anything to the original file. And notice my file size is very small compared to duplicating the layer. If I hit Control J or Command J on the Mac, you can see my file size went to 61 meg, which is a huge file. So I like to control my file size, especially when I start working with larger files like panoramas and stuff. So we're just going to hit the delete key to get rid of that layer, and we're back to our skin retouching. So I'll zoom in a little bit more. Okay, and I'll go back to my layer with all sample layers, and I'll just start removing some of this stuff on her face, and we'll be right back. One thing I want to show you, if you go into your brush and you go to your brush settings by clicking this, if you're working with the Wacom tablet that has pressure sensitivity, this will save you so much extra work, and you can get so much more control. Normally your brush will just be set up like this, and you can adjust your spacing right here. This is like these dots, that how the actual brush flows when you paint with it. But if you come over here to transfer, you can control by pen pressure the opacity jitter and the flow jitter, and basically this just lets you feather in your brush strokes, and I'll show you how that works. So we're going to grab our smoothing, and we're going to kick that up a little bit too, to say like maybe like around 20 or so. So we'll close this brush adjustment real quick, and you'll notice that my brush is really big, right? So let's just bring that down. If you hold down the Control and Alt key and you left click, and that's Command and Option on the Mac, and you move left to right, you can adjust the brush size, and if you go up and down, you can adjust the hardness. So I want to be working with a soft brush, and I'll make it small, and you see that the brush is pretty large. However, when I made those adjustments, those settings, if I just barely touch, it's based on pressure sensitivity. You'll see that when we're painting on that layer, we need to go into the spot healing. So with spot healing brush selected, if I just touch the tip of the pen to the tablet, you see it doesn't fill the whole cursor because it's working off pressure sensitivity. So I have exacting control of where I'm applying healing. So when I go in here and take these freckles out, I'm not affecting any skin around. When I come up here around this edge, up near the hair, you know, I'm not going to get that line because it's sampling from the side of the head. So we'll pause it and we'll come back. I'll finish the skin retouch and I'll show you before. Okay, I'm back, and we've retouched the skin. You can see here that we've pretty much knocked out everything that we wanted to get rid of on the skin. And I'm just going to save the file now as if it was done, even though I know it's not done. Okay, we're going to hit Control S or Command S to save, and you'll see right here it says saving. And it's writing that file back to Lightroom. So we'll just go ahead and close it. And we'll open up Lightroom. And let's open up this film strip. And you'll see that here was the original file, and this is the edited PSD if you read right here. And if we zoom in, you can see that all those changes have been applied to the picture. So let's look at the original. It moved. Okay. If you hit these little tabs down here, it will stack and unstack your images. We don't want to stack and unstack them. So if you select down at the bottom of the tabs, you can see better. Okay, so this was the edited, and this is the original. Okay. Now, Mom looks at the picture and says, you know, I like the picture, but you know, where are her freckles? You know, her cute freckles are gone, and you know, I just love those freckles. So if you don't work in this smart object non-destructive workflow that I just showed you working with PSDs, then you're pretty much have to start over. So how you work with PSDs from Lightroom handing back and forth is if you go into preferences and you say, instead of TIFF, you save it as a Photoshop document. This will give you the control to go back in and fix anything. So we're going to go ahead and right click again and edit in Photoshop. And a lot of times you'll edit with Lightroom adjustments, but we want to edit the original. So we're going to edit, and it brings it right back into Lightroom. I'm sorry, Photoshop. And there's our layer, there's our skin touch relayer. Okay, let's zoom in and see. And we want to put the freckles back on. It's real easy. All you do is go and grab your eraser tool, and you come back in and you paint with that layer selected. You just paint back in those freckles. And that's a pretty simple process. We're not going to affect anything else. So there's our freckles. And nothing else was touched. Maybe a little bit more on the nose. So there you go. You have a non-destructive workflow that you can hand files back and forth. So if we hit save again, Control S, it'll save that file back out. We'll go back into Lightroom, and there we have the new file with the freckles. There's the original. Here's the new one with the skin retouched, and now we can continue on with our workflow. This will where we'll conclude this tutorial, and in the next one we'll continue on with this image, and we'll do, adjust the shine. We'll adjust the actual skin retouching itself, where we smooth the skin out, and we'll finish retouching this. So I thank you for taking time to visit my blog today. Until next time, we'll see you soon.